Hey guys, just sharing random thoughts. Uh, I'm just thinking about the state of the world and just how everything is, and I can't really know the whole world, but I can at least see the trends online, and I guess the general thought I have is that perception is everything. Everything is I think the one thing that really frustrates me about how the world is working right now is just the show that things must always be well and okay. In order for things, and I understand why, because it's so easy for things to just seem to fall out of place. I remember COVID, like, out of all things people complained about, it was toilet paper. Yeah, people worried about food and water. That was common, but toilet paper? That was strange. Uh I don't know. I don't know. And this concept of perception, instead of actually trying to create value, people just try to create perception. And this affects the stock market. You don't increase your stocks necessarily by what you do. You increase stocks by sharing what people like. You improve stocks by the perception of how people think you are doing. By making people think that you are doing better than you actually are. That's how you increase your stocks. If you looks like you're about to collapse and fail, then you it's a compounding effect, and you will lose more exponentially. This happens with social media. If you try to if you don't give off the perception of a brand of who you are, then it if you fail or lose, then you fall apart. That's kind of why, like, the most ironic thing about social media is that if you to be the most successful long term is to honestly just try to be yourself. Don't play the games. Don't try to manipulate people's perception towards your behavior, because when something cracks or something falls apart, all of a sudden, it can instantly shift and you lose everything. It's not guaranteed. Everyone tries to create buffers. It's a risk aversion to try to prevent themselves from losing everything, right? But it's just so fascinating to watch. Like, I think, and if I were to use an example, Hassan Piker and Asmongold. Asmongold is unabashedly himself. He doesn't care whether he makes it or not. And I think that's part of the attraction that people like him so much. But Hassan Piker isn't. And will just say what needs to be said in the moment to try to present a specific brand. And it's just. And if I go long term, or if I expand this thought wider to the idea of perception, one of my worries about everything falling apart is that eventually something will break. Um, I think my hottest take, if you want to know my hottest take that I have about anything and everything, is that I was okay with January 6th. Not necessarily because I cared about the protesters and them entering the White House. But for one brief moment, enough people, enough people's perceptions were shattered to create a shift and change upon an entity that affected the government and affected their perception. It was like a breaking of reality. It was a bending of the rules, a bending of the mental rules and social customs that we have placed upon ourselves in society. And 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 that one, and I wish we had more of those moments. And the problem is that those moments are going to come, and they're not going to be fun. The only way to prevent those moments is to actually try to improve the lives of the people around you. The more we try to play these perception games, the more we try to pretend that things are okay when they're not, the more we try to focus more on our own unintentionally around these perception games that we've played in society, the more buffers we're going to create. Until eventually something somewhere will snap. And I don't think the snap is going to be big. I think it's just going to be a lot of little snaps here and there that will eventually begin to happen more frequently and more often, and then eventually it will just begin to aggregate until these snaps look like a big snap, when in reality it was just a lot of little moments beginning to aggregate into a big moment. And we're seeing elements of this happening. I can't predict the future. There's always a chance that I can be wrong. But there's only so much you can do. You can only control things so much. You can only gauge things so much. And that includes your perceptions of everything. So, I guess I'm hoping for the best. We'll see what happens.